The accounting profession is increasing its focus on DEI to ensure our workplaces reflect our communities around us. While significant progress has been made, there are still opportunities for us to enhance diversity, equity, and inclusion in the accounting profession. Today, I'm joined with Elizabeth Barentzen, Vice President of Operations and Talent Initiatives at the Center for Audit Quality, and Guylaine St, President and CEO of NABA Inc, the National Association of Black Accountants. And we're here for a discussion on the current landscape of DEI in accounting, barriers to entry in high school and college students, opportunities for Blacks and African American students to pursue accounting as a career, and actionable steps to make a difference in the overall profession. Guylaine, Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Pleased to be with you.
Thanks for having me. Same here. I just want to jump right in. Elizabeth, can you give us some background about what the CAQ has been doing to bring more diversity into the accounting profession?
Sure. We are super excited about a really great initiative. We recently launched a very national campaign targeted at reaching Black, African American, and Hispanic Latino students at the high school and college levels. The reason why we're targeting that campaign to those demographics is because we know quite clearly that there is a disproportionate number of students from these demographics coming into the profession. And even just to underscore that, we also know that the issue is even greater for Black and African American students coming into the profession. We've looked at a lot of data, and we've grounded our campaign. It's you can check out our website at www.joinaccountingplus.com. We grounded this campaign in a lot of research that we did over the course of 2021, where we surveyed students looking at their perceptions of accounting, when they're making career decisions, what goes into those decisions, who influences them. And what we found was that there is a lot of interest, especially for Black community college students, but that they're not necessarily getting the support that they need all the way through to carry them through the pipeline to becoming accounting graduates, which is hence why we decided to partner with NABA on the initiative that we're doing.
Awesome. And Guylaine, could you just speak to NABA's research and experience on why Blacks and African American students aren't going into the profession of accounting at the rate that we all would like to see?
So we know that there's a lot of factors at play. I think Liz talked a bit about it, about the influence, right? We choose our profession based on those who are closest to us that inform sort of like our thinking, right? So if, we see this, it's a commonality of things. I think that, historically, Blacks have been not, through systemic racism, that we've not been, attached to assets, attached to money or places thereof. And so therefore, people just don't choose accounting. And we know that accounting is really not a place where a lot of Black people have shown up, which is why NABA was created by 9 Black African-American men who wanted to see more of their representation, more people like them in accounting, particularly the CPA. We know that in the past, you had to be sponsored by a partner to be in the CPA. And guess what? Most partners were not sponsoring Black people to go sit for the CPA exam. So then, you permeate that, moving forward with this deep, culture that most Black people would say that they don't see themselves, right, into this field of work. The third thing we know is that people confuse the breadth of accounting with the idea that accounting is tax and audit, and that those two are boring. It's just we don't like to pay taxes, so we don't like the tax. We don't want people looking at the things we do to around taxes, right? And we don't even understand. I think that taxes actually that accountants can help us understand deeper aspects of the law or systems that we could put in place to not to pay our fair share of taxes be law-abiding citizens without necessarily overpaying. I think the view has always been, if I work with an accountant, they're gonna make me pay more, right? And so, and that all of this tends to be boring. It's boring work. I don't want to do it. And I think the fifth factor is when you look at, and again, we're just talking about public accounting here, right? But when you look at firms in public accounting, less than 1% of partners are Black. And then when you decouple, you delve further, a smaller fraction of that number are actually equity partners, which is where we build wealth. So if I'm a young Black person, I'm thinking, I've got to go get an extra year to get the CPA license. I'm going to work really long hours during tax season, which is now there's no such a time as tax season. It's all year round because of, companies choose when their fiscal year ends. So we're always in tax season, right? I'm sorry, in audit season. There's always something going on. I'm going to work really, really hard. And I'm not going to get paid what I could if I went into something like, digital marketing or technology. Right. And so, and then my chances of progression are very, very slim.
Right. As it appears to be, right? It appears that way.
Okay.
Well, I guess when I say appears that way, I think that people have different routes that they follow in terms of their careers and also in a career in accounting. And there, as much as it might seem that there's some chances based on the historical data and everything that we've seen, I think what we all are trying to do is bring more of us into the profession so that way we can change that, right?
Absolutely.
We don't want it to seem like the profession of accounting is something where you don't get paid a lot of money, because frankly, I feel like I've been paid well, pursuing this career, right? And yes, it is a lot of hard work, but it's well worth it, because not only because of the pay, but because of the people you get to meet, the experience you get to offer. And I think that's the thing that we all are wanting to like.
I think for us at NABA is all of it, to say that actually we move from accounting being a field and a profession to being a language. Right. We don't see how we close the wealth gap for Black people in America if we don't move from a concept of fluency, sort of literacy to fluency, and that language is the language of accounting. And that if we get people to be really excited about learning this language that we call accounting, then the rest is history, because you're right. People discover the richness and the unlimited potential that exists within this field of studies, including the fact, Christopher and Liz, that, what we're finding out is that a lot of people have studied accounting, but have pursued really cool career path like yours. Here you are in risk, right? Here is, Liz at the Center for Audit Quality, making sure that we've got more Black people that are, sort of like really shaping the future of audit in this country and around the world. So that's pretty exciting things, if you ask me. And so I think that that's what we do this work. That's why we want to open up these opportunities. And then last but not least, I will also say that, we're really excited to partner with the CAQ because we have been fascinated by the data of the rigorous research that they've done that shows that 81% of Black and Brown people at the community college level are very open to accounting.
Right.
It's just that as they finish, sort of like their higher ed trajectory, it goes next to zero. And I think there's a whole gap of what we've got to figure out. What is happening during that period of time that, our people are losing the exhilaration, sort of the breadth of what is possible, so that together we can start to influence the culture in the current state.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to get into the partnership between the CAQ and NABA more for our viewers. So my understanding is that this is going to be a partnership that's going to help support community colleges, but also there is a dynamic for helping HBCU students as well. So can we talk about what that's going to mean for Blacks and African Americans, and then maybe even discuss what that might mean for people who don't identify as Blacks and African Americans to some extent?
Let me just, and let me just level set a little bit, because this research we're talking about that the CAQ undertook in 2021, what we saw with students coming into the profession or that were considering accounting is that some of the biggest barriers are they don't feel like, echoing what Guylaine said, they don't feel that they have the interest in the work. They feel like the work is boring. They might not feel like they have the skill set that's needed. So we need to break down that misconception that this is all math and numbers, when in reality, you just need basic math skills. And a lot of the skill sets that we need for accountants has changed. It's really communication, interpersonal skills, being able to interpret and communicate that data. And third, financial considerations is a really big issue, especially for our underrepresented demographics. And so this partnership with NABA, what we're trying to do here is to look at that awesome opportunity that we have here with Black community college students that have an interest in accounting, and then supporting them through that journey as they transition into 4-year HBCU accounting programs. That's what we're doing here. And when we talk about support, we're thinking about these financial considerations that are real for these students, like transportation. How do we support them in making sure that they can have the financial means that they can get to their programs, and with technology that they need, right? All these are costs that I many of us take for granted, I think, but that these are real ways that we can support students and make sure that they're successful, and that we are taking opportunity to recognize their interests and carry them through all the way through these 4-year programs.
Liz, I love how you, our partnership, right? We're learning from each other's data. We're learning from, this is what a more just world looks like, right? I mean, I couldn't, stop myself from smiling when you talked about transportation. And transportation is, as you know, one of the barriers of entry that prevent students. I mean, there's tons and tons of data around why students don't persist in community colleges, right? And so that's what we're trying to do. I'll say check to everything Liz has shared. What I will also add is, again, I always am very careful because I don't ever live in the absolute. What I will say is we didn't find when we started to, think and imagine and create this program, a clearly articulated agreement between community colleges and HBCUs, right? There's understanding, there's way to support. However, what we know from research and from data is that when a student, unless there are clear articulated agreement, when a student goes from community college, because we talk about all the ism, one of the big one in this country is elitism. Mm-hmm. For some odd reason, we've always looked down at community colleges as if that's the place for students who don't make it to 4-year institution or were not good enough. That's where they go. I'm a proud product of community college, right? And I think community college there's lots of great talent that for a variety of reasons, people start in community colleges, right? However, those clear articulation agreements allow somebody to move and still complete in a time, supported by Pell Grants and financial aid, et cetera, so that we don't spend elongated period of time unnecessarily, which have financial consequences for folks. And so the idea of articulating this is to tighten a fracture. When we talk about NABA as about pathing and paving, it's also sort of like fermenting places where we see that community colleges should have articulated agreement with HBCUs, because for Black and Brown, we know that a majority of Black people that achieve a bachelor's degree come from HBCUs. I'm not here to make a case for HBCUs anymore. This country seems to all of a sudden have awakened the possibilities that exist in HBCUs. So you all know this better than I do, right? So let's just talk about this, right? And so the idea is, how do we prevent people from being lost in the shuffle? How do we prevent people from saying, oh my God, this is hard? Because, accounting is not easy. It is a rigorous field of study. And so, just to get to the degree, I'm going to go, take something that's easier or comes naturally to me, right? And then how do we support them so that there's not all these extra things that get later on because I took accounting 101 and a school calls it fundamentals versus intermediate. We're asking people to retake courses, right? So there is so much that we could delve into, and that's what we're proposing to do. For the sake of level setting, what I love about the partnership with CAQ is this is for me why, I tell people it's not just allyship, it's advocacy, it's even accomplishing. We made up a word, Liz, Julie and I, we call it accomplishing because nobody's really done these things that we found. And it is the resilience to say, we're going to learn together. We're going to try something. We're going to track the data. We're going to be rigorous and disciplined. We're going to keep each other honest, right? And then from there, we'll be able to grow something to an ecosystem, right? To sort of rise the boat for all. So to your point about, once we figure this out, we don't think that only Black and brown people will benefit. We think that the boat will rise all tide, because if we have if for me, if there's one thing that, I do into this is to say we need to stop looking down on community colleges, right? And deeply coupled with this is we have got to build Black institutions, which we know that the number of HBCUs just in the past 18 months has gone down, not up, right? And we have got to get behind this and build those institutions, facilitate the transfer, get the recognitions that those programs deserve and these institutions deserve. And I couldn't be more excited, but the opportunity to do this, with CLA, Deloitte, and of course, my good friends, my accomplices at the CAQ.
I'm excited too.
We love being people that are excited because, we're not really polite up in this place. We just, one of the things that Liz, Julie, and I, we often say is like polite women rarely made history. So we really are ill-behaved women.
Absolutely.
I felt like we were getting a little too serious up in here. So I got to get.
No, and you know what? That's great. I
got Liz Barentzen to smile, that winning smile in that beautiful blue dress of hers. So good. We're making progress.
Yes, absolutely. And, I think it's one of those things where we don't, I like that we're very informal and it's very fun at times because that's how it is in the workplace, honestly. It's not always, we get this stereotype as accountants as we're always by the book and we're always very boring, kind of stern people. But what my experience has always been is that it's vibrant, diverse, backgrounds, personalities, people all collaborating together to solve problems, to help businesses get better. And I think that's being, reflected even in this discussion. So let me pivot. I want to understand, how is it that a student, maybe you're a high school student, or maybe you're going to a community college, what would you say is the best way for them to take advantage and position themselves under this partnership to be able to benefit from the things that the two organizations are doing?
Liz, why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. Well, what we're doing together is really focused on community college students. But backing up, if we think about high school students, there's a lack of awareness. We were talking about this in the beginning of the conversation. Lack of awareness around what accounting is, what opportunities are out there. So I know that NABA has an ACAP program, which is amazing, and it's focused on giving high school students experience in accounting. We're working on something too with high school students, which is we just launched or announced a partnership with EverFi, which is the United States' leading social impact education innovator. So we will be launching a digital career awareness course around accounting that'll go into 1,000 high schools next year, 3,000 high schools the year after. And so a lot of this is the awareness piece at the high school level, making the case why this could be a real change maker for possibly, my passion is for the work that we're doing is I agree with Guylaine, like this is a career that if we can give that fluency to more and more students and communities throughout this country, we can really move the needle on the wealth disparity issue, right? And so, but that it starts with awareness. We know that 75% of current accounting majors report that they know somebody in the field. So backing up to what Guylaine was saying, if we know that the field is not very diverse, we need to build that awareness with diverse populations so that we can make sure that pipeline is carrying all the way through to equity partner.
You see why I love working with her. She just lays it up, perfectly, right? And so here's what I would say. What, to add, right, is that like you, Christopher, you chose not to be in public accounting, but to do your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about wealth at NABA, we think that you achieve wealth through 4 things: education. Notice I didn't say, degree achievement. There's a difference, right? Education.
Mm-hmm.
Really being sure that people understand how earnings work, different than wages.
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurship, and an enterprise. Enterprise being, you sort of become a partner, an equity partner, or you C-suite in a company, or you sit on a board, right? Entrepreneurship. What I would want every Black and brown boy and girl, or young man or young woman in this country to hear is that you cannot achieve that measure of success without speaking the language.
There it is.
Right? Yep. Doctors study science, chemistry, biology, that's their language. Lawyers have to be very versed in the humanities because, even some of the words are so tied to Latin and Greek, etc. And the law that is in this country is baked into either Roman rule or Greek rule, and then we end up with our own version, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to make money and you want to achieve wealth, and I just really want every Black and brown young man and woman to hear this, is to say, wealth is different than riches. They're not the same. Mm-hmm. Right? I think we've lost focus in this age of consumerism, sort of this age of, me, right? We've sort of lost the train of thought of what is really wealth. Right. In fact, in this country, we talked a lot about asset. We don't talk enough about equity.
Right.
Right. We think that, to own your thing, we got to be, in the asset business. No, it's the equity. But all these things come through the language of accounting. And so I would just really want every man and woman, Black and brown, and everything in between, to really get to a place to say, I got to study this thing because that is the language of money. It is the language of business, and it is the language of wealth. What you do with it is different. It could take your own, it's sort of like, I hope again at the spirit of making some fun, right? I mean, I know we say Red Bulls gives you wings. I would say accounting gives you wings, right? Or maybe we should say accounting makes you green, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what I would want everybody to hear, to get people excited to go study it, because you studied accounting, you're a CPA, but you're the founder of a viable nonprofit and you run your own business. Like, wow. And I look at you, I say this with the utmost respect. You couldn't possibly, you couldn't possibly be even close to my age, right? I mean, so good. We want it that way.
Right. I'm trying. One thing that I like to carry with me every day is kind of what we talked about when we first started this discussion, is having role models, having people that you can look up to and be an example of what there is to accomplish, right? And I think that I don't necessarily do it for everyone, but I do it for whoever looks at me and says, wow, I admire that. And I want to be just like that. I want to make my own decisions that will help me to craft a future for success that maybe even looks similar to his, right? And I think we need more people standing up front and showing what the opportunities and the benefits and what success can look like in this profession. And that's going to carry us a long way, along with the work that the two of you are doing, that the CAQ is doing, that NABA has been doing, and that you all have been doing throughout the years. So I want to wrap up our discussion today with just one more thing. And I know we've been talking about what's been happening under our recent partnership, your recent partnership, but has there been any discussion about what could be done beyond this partnership, about focusing on community colleges and HBCUs?
Yeah, I think we are always accomplishing That's a verb. I don't know, but I would just say that that CAQ sees NABA as a critical partner in the work that we're doing across the board. And so, yes, for sure, there's more to come. We want to elevate NABA across their reach across the United States, and we are going to be looking at different ways that we can continue doing that, because for all the reasons we've talked about, we think this is a really important issue, even broader than just bringing more Black accountants into our CPA firms. I mean, I think that this is an opportunity to make a real difference in our country.
So for me, I say yes, for a couple of reasons. One, let's talk about the CAQ leadership in Julie and Liz. This is how a more just world looks like. These are two women who people would think don't look like me. And yet they were the first two who said, we believe in your vision of NABA. We absolutely believe in you and what you're about to do. It wasn't enough that they said that. It's that they put money, sizable money, behind it in ways that says, I so believe in you that I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And I know you're going to deliver, because we know those kinds of money require accountability at a board level. When people talk about allyship, and I tell people I don't have room for allies anymore, my bucket is full, thank you very much. Let's talk about advocates. Let's talk about accomplices. Let's talk about, like really active allyship.
Right.
Like, let's not lose that, because I've heard so many people say, we believe in people. Right? For all the conversations we've had in this country, I've unabashedly said that the first people who stood behind this vision are women, and women who don't look like me. And particularly, I mean, I remember we weren't even fully cooked when Julie and Liz said, we want to do something, let's go try something. Right? And I don't want to ever lose sight of it. For anybody who's listening to this, there's a lot of good in our world, right? But we also have to show up with our stuff. That's one.
Absolutely.
The second thing is, with NABA's move to being NABA Inc., so that we could really signal this idea that accounting is, yes, accountants will always be at the core of what we do, because that's how we achieve that fluency, but that we see this as we serve Black business leaders. Black is beautiful. Right? Business, we all are in the business of doing something, right? And then leadership as a core of competencies. Christopher, I'll wrap up with this, which is my point number 2. I hear a lot of talk about role modeling, looking up to people. And for me, I wish more people would look within.
Yes.
That's why we know in our vision and our mission, we didn't talk about success, right? Yeah. Because I think we inspire people at being the best version of themselves at every point of the journey. Because our muse is internal. Right. And recognize that what may have worked for me may not work for you. However, our opportunity to say that you can be it if you can't see it, but that together with the CAQ, with other partners like CLA, Deloitte, and others that are coming along with us, that we can indeed make manifest this ideal of a more just world.
Great. Thank you for that. I always really enjoy having these discussions, because I learned so much, not only just about what's happening in the world of accounting and our profession, but also just, about myself too. One of the things that, I'll piggyback and say is, you're right. It's about what happens within, which is also very, very important. I found that over my career, I've had to look within to accomplish a lot of the things that I have done. So yes, I encourage everybody to look within. I want to also encourage everybody to follow boldambition.org and join accounting.plus, which are the CAQ's websites for the Accounting Plus and Bold Ambition initiatives. I also want to encourage everyone, if you're a student, and Guylaine, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're a student, you can participate in NABA.
You can become a member of NABA, and we welcome you with open arms. Sign up to be a member of NABA.
And for professionals, participate, enroll, become a professional member. And for everyone out there, follow CPA Diversity on LinkedIn, and we also have our YouTube channel. And Elizabeth, Guylaine, thank you for your time today, for the discussion, for the insight, and for all the value that you're bringing to the profession and to this discussion.
We appreciate you, Christopher, facilitating such a rich conversation. Liz, as you know, always happy to be on the screen with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.